Yeah, it makes me wonder if I should be wearing a hazmat suit or a lead vest because, you know, with contaminants being here and radiation, I don't know, am I at risk? Hopefully not. What the heck did I just find? Yeah, this is looking a little strange. Let me turn around and show you. Okay, I want to investigate this area. I'm noticing a few things that stand out to me that look like they are man-made. When I made my original video here, I wasn't quite sure what this place was or even what I found. The one thing I did know though is that trains were involved somehow. Well, it didn't take long for viewers to chime in and to explain what this place actually used to be. It was then that I realized I needed to come back to explore more of this area, and that's what we're doing today in this video. If you want to learn more about this place and to see what we may or may not find, all you need to do is come along with me. Now, last time I was here, we pretty much stopped in this particular area. And this particular area caught my attention. And what I heard in the comments section, which I have no reason to doubt it, is that this is a monitoring site. That there's something that was buried here or spilled here or placed here. And they basically capped it, sealed it. And all these holes and poles coming out are to monitor the site, I guess, to test for readings. I don't know if it's contaminants, I don't know what it is, but it is barricaded off, and there's a big heaping mound of pavement, and there's an electrical box there, and close to a dozen little corrugated pipes coming out of the ground. So the viewer said that most likely something is capped here, sealed here, and they're monitoring it. So don't know what to make of that, but that is what I learned. But if you happen to know more based on what you see or have read about, by all means, leave it down below. Also, just to mention to you, I am not wearing a helmet today just because I'm going to be taking a slow, leisurely ride. I'm not going to be going anything more than like 15 miles an hour. So I wanted to be able to talk to you guys more clearly, be able to see things better without having to take the helmet on and off. And we'll be getting on and off the bike a lot. So right now we are essentially inside the main building that was here. And in just a little bit, I'm going to share some additional details and photos that were shared with me that I'm going to pass on to you so you have a better idea as to what this place used to look like and why all these different rails are inside of here. But we're going to go straight back now to what I'm calling a brick shithouse. Based on how big and thick the walls were, it serves purpose though, from what I learned. So let's head over there and we'll get inside, get a fresh look at it, and we'll talk some history about this property. If you remember, the one thing I was able to confirm, thanks to the old satellite images or aerial images, is that this property was serviced by rail. We found a few old rail beds similar to this. We found some spikes, some ties, and actually where the switch is. So I'll show you that a little bit later on. This is a well-protected building, even with the roof gone. These walls are at least 4 feet thick, solid concrete, and there's a passageway, a manway that goes in, over, and out. It's not a direct shot out, and there's a reason for that. And also, right in front of us, even though I questioned it in the video, some people did confirm that most likely this big slab of a door did move at one time to cover up the opening. And like I said, there's a reason why this building is built like it is. So let me park the bike over here in the shade and we're going to talk some details and history about this place. So here's what I can tell you based on what I learned from viewers and some additional research. This property was originally Foster Wheeler Energy Corporation. It started here in 1953 and closed in 1984. And it was confirmed that from that operation, contaminants were leaked into the ground. Property sat vacant for 5 years, and then in 1989, Morris Knudsen Corporation, better known as MK Rail, operated here until 1996, rebuilding diesel locomotives. So that explains why all the rails are on the property. The large fortress building, which we're in right now, which I call the brick shit house, was used for x-rays on equipment. The thick walls were to keep the radiation contained, and also could have been used for pressure testing of the boilers by Foster Wheeler. A few additional details states that it was announced May 1952 that the Foster Wheeler Corporation of New York would build a plant 800 feet long, 125 feet wide, and 75 feet high at a cost of $716,000. Depending on the scope of operations, up to 600 men would be employed at this plant. And Foster Wheeler manufactured power plant boilers, generators, and oil refinery equipment for nearly 30 years until it did close in 1984. Now, although Foster Wheeler was the business that started here, MK Rail seems to be the more known, prominent business. Even though it had a much shorter lifespan here than Foster Wheeler, more people than not that commented on my video and gave me details knew it as MK Rail, including a few employees who did work here and shared some of those photos as well. So pretty incredible to know that it started as one thing, changed to another, and the thing that it changed to was why I was drawn here. I found it by train. We came here, found all the rails in the ground, found a couple unique structures, and to learn that locomotives were rebuilt here inside a massive, massive facility. Large building, large footprint, and today it's more than not just a concrete pad and some rails still in the ground and 2 surviving structures. But when I came here though, I didn't have those details. I didn't know what to think of it, but I knew this building was overly built stronger than it needed to be for an ordinary everyday building. So radiation was contained in this building, and that they could have done pressure testing, which would contain an explosion. If anything, the explosion would have went upwards instead of outwards. And although there is one manway there, that one's not really significant. This one over here is, because it would have protected any individuals who were going to be operating this facility here. There's a plate there. Come through. It's much cooler in here too. Fluorescent, I'm not sorry, not fluorescent, porcelain light fixture. And then it goes at an angle and then another angle. So again, if there was an explosion or radiation, it's not going to be coming out at a direct shot. It's more than likely to not make it back there due to the walls. And again, just the thickness of the walls, pretty mind-blowing. And this building is big enough how it is, but the main building was pretty gargantuan as far as length and width and height. But I still don't know how they would have moved this door here, which I'm calling a door. But this is separated from the wall. There's a gap behind it. And it is clearly evident that at one time it would have moved over to contain radiation and or pressure testing. So that might remain a mystery, but I found it fascinating though that that's indeed what this building was built for. It was built overly strong, overly thick walls for safety reasons, for both possible explosions and radiation. Sounds like a forklift horn. You can see the size of the building compared to me coming out. But we have a lot more to explore, so let's keep moving. Those of you who watched that first video too may remember when I was in here, a train came sprinting out to catch a passing by here. And the leaves weren't even on the trees yet, so we were able to see it. It was riding in northern. But we came over here though, because we found some boreholes, which are right here. And I stuck a stick down in them. 2 of them, I think, were only a few feet deep. The other 2, depth unknown. I reached down over 6 feet down and could not touch the bottom. And they are plugged up with water. So, don't know how deep they go. They could have been for monitoring, could have been for pumping water. But they're here, they're open. And there is a fire extinguisher somewhere over here too. Oh yeah, here it is. It's one of many that we found here. There's a water valve there. And I think I found about 3 or 4, not fire extinguishers, fire hydrants. I think I made that mistake in the video. I said one of them was a fire extinguisher. No, fire hydrants. There's 3 or 4 fire hydrants here, not extinguishers. It's gonna be hard to see anything on the ground, but I don't think we're looking for anything on the ground today because, well, we walked the ground for the most part in our previous visit where it was more barren. I want to get to some further away areas today that we haven't seen before. So we walked that, we know what's over there is a few fire hydrants, remnants of the rail bed, some ties and spikes and plates. And then we walked over to the main building here, which I want to just kind of recap some of my initial thoughts and explain why I did think what I did initially. But now that we know what it used to be, well, it makes a whole lot more sense now. And this is the right vehicle to navigate this material, this land. Also, you guys have selected a name for this. I'll share that in a little bit. There was a winning number of comments for the name selected for the bike and riding today. So here we are, we're inside the main building. And as you can see, all throughout, there's rails in here. And I remember thinking like, oh, I wonder if, trains came through here. But then I found some other rails that didn't really seem like they were train worthy of holding weight. Some of them were narrower or thinner. And like, there's no way a trains rode on that. Like, for example, right here, this rail sticking up, that's not normal standard gauge rail. It's almost like a steel chunk going through. So I'm thinking that I was maybe partially correct. When this was Foster Wheeler, they most likely had equipment rolling on rails inside the building. Could have been maybe for gantry cranes or just other equipment that moved on rails from point A to point B to carry or move things around. I think that is partially what we have seen here with some of the rails that don't look like they were made for trains. But on the other hand, there are rails here that do look like they're standard gauge or able to hold trains. And now we know, well, trains did indeed exist in this building, specifically locomotives. They repaired locomotives in here, rebuilt them. So any given moment, there would have been probably different lines for different stages of work or progress for like tear down, assembly, mechanical work, parts, stuff like that. So I think we're seeing a combination of both from both operations, Foster Wheeler and MK Rail. Now, we've seen that building. We're going to come back to that. I do want to go to the back though and show you where the switch was that came off the main line today of Reading and Northern, because this again was serviced by rail, and that's how they would have got the locomotives on this property to rebuild them. Another fire hydrant right there. A little swampy area right here is some nature's corn dogs. Back here I found some more monitoring pipes, which, since we know this place was contaminated, it makes sense as to why we see them. There's one of them right here. It's capped off and locked. But here is the spur line, which I'm not going to go much further because I don't want to get too close to the property. But this is the spur that came off the main line to service MK Rail and even Foster Wheeler. I think both properties, both businesses were serviced by rail. So this is still in usable condition, but the rails do terminate right there in that mound. They don't go any further than that. They have been ripped up, but at least we can know where they entered from. And we saw remnants of the rail bed. And even right here, there's a bunch of rail ties. So we had all the evidence we ever needed, both from aerial images and from confirmation on site. And like I said, we're going to see a lot of monitoring pipes all over the place. It makes me wonder if I should be wearing a hazmat suit or a lead vest because, with contaminants being here and radiation, I don't know, am I at risk? Hopefully not. Oh, here's a new one I just found for the first time. It says 5 1/4 K12 UAFM. Kennedy. Can't read the rest of it. There's another concrete pad here. This is all new for me now. We have not been back here. There's a little hole right here with water in it though. Like a small well or something. Here's a sled. We already know there's toys here that were dumped, so the place is officially abandoned. But this is all new territory for me. We have not been back here. Oh, we got a road here. Let's see where this goes. Well, I'm so glad I'm not on foot. It's a warm one today, and I'm covering so much more ground on this bike. Now, if I do see any posted signs or anything like that, purple paint, I will be turning around, but just for curiosity's sake, I'm curious where this leads to. Oh, there's a garage back here with vehicles. I'm going to turn around. And I'm glad I'm using a bike like this. There's no noise at all. All right, let's keep going further back. This is a large footprint, though. I mean, the building itself was big enough, but look how big this property is, though. This is paved all the way back here. I don't know what that garage is. I guess it's someone's private. I don't know if it's a business or what it is, but there's some vehicles there in the building, so I didn't want to go any further. Not really concerned as to what it is or who owns it, but looks like they do access it from this property. So here is remnants of another building. Let's walk around, poke around, and see if we can find any details. Looks like it may keep going further back, though. Apparently I ran over some excrement somewhere back there. It's all over the tires. Thought I smelled it. So before we continue, let me tell you quickly about this bike. This is the Happy Run G300 Pro. I've already done a review on it, but I was asking viewers for a name, and it got down to two that stood out to me, which was Lil Blue Jay or Blue Lightning. So on a previous video where I documented the number 7 dam, I did use this bike, and I asked viewers watching that video to comment down below which name you like better. Is it going to be Lil Blue Jay or Blue Lightning? Well, we have a winner, only by 11 votes. It was actually really close, and as of this morning, with 11 votes winning, this is officially Blue Lightning. So here on forth, if I refer to Blue Lightning, I'm referring to this bike right here. Another great suggestion, though, was Blue Comet. Well, that name was given to my other blue bike, the Walkie H7, which is the power station on wheels. That is now the Blue Comet. So I have Blue Comet and Blue Lightning. So thank you to all of you who did give suggestions and for helping name this bike. So we have foundation here and a lot of dumping on the inside and behind it too. Either somebody made a fire pit here, or there was something there made out of cinder blocks. But there was a fire there without a doubt. So here's something of interest I'm just noticing. If we stand here and we look, what's that look like? Looks like a cradle for a pipe. And I think that's what we're looking at. This is the most intact one. The rest are kind of pulverized. Yeah, this might not be a traditional building. It might have housed equipment, more specifically a large pipe. I guess we'll go inside and get a closer look at it. Definitely have to watch out for snakes too. It's gonna be prime territory. Yeah, you could see it's bowed. A lot of broken glass in here too. And parts of a car. Door panels, seats. Something was stripped. That was glass I just stepped on. Yeah, so whatever was residing in here, looks like it's almost flush with the wall. So I don't know if it would have came out at the end or if it was just contained in here. But unless I'm told otherwise, it does resemble a big cradle to hold a pipe or a big piece of equipment that was rounded off. The rebar that was all twisted, it's almost like a snake. Different diameter rebar. The rest of the walls, seems like this was the only as high as the concrete went. I don't think this building would have been exposed like this. So the walls could have been made out of maybe wood, which doesn't seem really feasible. If it was steel, we'd still see it. I mean, there's piping there, but that piping's far too small for what would be inside here. What are these? Exotic whip. 1350G. It's almost like a little propane tank or camp fuel. Nitrous oxide food grade gas. There's a few cans of that here. Maybe somebody's doing whippets or something. Well, again, if you have any insights as to what you think this building was used for, how it may have looked, what would have been inside of it, I'm all ears, so share your thoughts down below since I shared mine with you. Since we're back this far, let's go a little bit further, see where this road goes. It's semi-worn down. Less worn down back here, but it does keep going. I don't know if this would have been part of the property or not. Maybe it was another access road, another entrance. Oh, I see a gate up here. Yeah, I think this was another entrance to the property. Trail basically goes left and right. I'm not gonna follow those right now. I want to stay kind of on task because that could lead in a whole nother adventure video. So maybe we'll check back that later, but right now let's go back to where we were. But I think that maybe this was another separate entrance. So there's a nice feather right here. What would that be from? It's like a Indian feather. Quite nice. So we have another concrete pad here on the left. I mean, aside from the main structure that we've seen in the pictures, there were numerous small buildings scattered around too. And I'm guessing they were probably used by both businesses. What the heck did I just find? Yeah, this is looking a little strange. Let me turn around and show you. Yeah. Is that a purse tree? And where did all the purses come from? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 7 purses and or wallets, maybe 8. Just hanging here strangely. I've seen soda cans, beer cans on trees. I've seen sneakers. I've seen pretty much everything else but purses or wallets hanging on a tree. Okay, I have no other words to say about that. Right here, something was mounted. We have 3 separate individual concrete bases. There's anchor bolts coming through. So most likely something mounted on top of there. And then we have, what is this? This is like a spreader, it looks like. Looks like it'll go on the back of a truck with a hitch. It's upside down. It's like a hopper spreader. Maybe for salt or something. Buyers Product Company. Oh yeah, so those things that we saw continue right across. Those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. At least 6 right here. 7. Do they continue over here? Yay, nay, yeah, they do. Okay, so something right where this tree line is, these bushes, there was something mounted, and there's bones here. Looks like they're cut. So here's the other side of that containment area, which we'll call it. As much as I would love to ride on it and explore it more, I think it's probably best I keep my distance from it. It's blocked off for a reason, even though anyone could come here and walk on it. But it is something that is monitored and it's capped off for a reason. So the last thing I want to do is like set off any sensors or alarms or anything like that. So we're gonna avoid that. Yeah, they actually have this chain right here and locked. that cone right there to block vehicles from going on there. Okay, so now we're farthest away from the building. Building would have been far over there to the left. There's another little road here. We'll just see where this goes. Covering so much ground on blue lightning though. So glad I brought this. There's a lot of pavement here too. A lot of money in just blacktop itself on this property and concrete. Okay, we're gonna go off the beaten trail here. Noticing a fence back here. Looks like maybe some more ties. Yep, there's a plate right there. These held rail. Rusty fence on the right hand side. Barbed wire on top. This was part of the property. I just think it was more or less just a natural area. No pavement, no concrete. Okay, so the fence ends here. We got more ties here. Probably the property boundary right here, like the forest begins and ends. Okay, I want to investigate this area. I'm noticing a few things that stand out to me that look like they are man-made. Just for reference, we just came right through there around the fence by the ties. The main building would have been over there. The brick shit house is over there. But over here though, I noticed a few things. I mean, not so much that, but further back here, looks like there might be some more pipes and or foundation or something. And it's pretty thick and secluded back here. I feel like I'm going through the candy cane forest. There's a swampy area right here through the trees. But then we come under here, under nature's canopy, and I think there's something man-made. Yeah, there is. Okay, first things first, we do have, I don't believe that's a fire hydrant. Looks like a pipe system though, and a capped pipe right next to it. So I spotted those, and then I spotted this. What is this? It was encased in a concrete box. It's a good distance away from the main property. There's a pipe coming out of it. There's pipes going through it. Looks like it had electricity going to it. Almost kind of reminds me of like a sump pump or a bilge pump. So it says General Electric AC gear something. A bunch of numbers. So factory sealed, did not remove this cover. Maybe those numbers or information could help yield some details as to what this is. It does resemble like a pump though, or something that's controlled electronically, whether it's a pump or a valve. But it does connect to a pipe right here. I'm guessing for water, probably was connected to these, had something to do with those since they're close relation to each other. But again, it is pretty far away from the property. It's probably close to at least 50 yards away from the main building. But it's tucked away over here near this wetlands area. And I wouldn't be surprised, like this was back here, you know, when these trees were already growing. But it looks pretty beat up. It was probably encased or closed up and someone kind of broke it open. And maybe there's parts or things missing that we don't see that would have been here to kind of help paint the picture as to what we're looking at. But I found it interesting. Again, riding slowly, just peering through the trees, I spotted that and a chunk of concrete. So that's why I'm exploring kind of off the beaten path. You never know what else could be hiding out here that could help paint a bigger picture. And I see someone running. Oh, there's the road's over there. Paint a bigger picture and add another piece to that puzzle. This grass is really high here. Oh, what's going on here? This wetlands area is like protected. What is this? So the pipe area that we just came from is just through those trees right there, maybe 50 feet away. Wetlands area is there, but there's this whole area. Looks like antennas coming out of it. It's fenced off with like chicken wire, but all these little white posts. I don't know what to make of that either. Here's like the entryway here. They have it closed off with just a clamp. Lock is just sitting there. That's fenced off for some reason. I wonder if they're monitoring that side as well. So here's main road right here. There's a chain going across, but it's not the main entrance. I'll show you where the main entrance is. Yeah, so right down here where those two dump trucks are, this is the main entrance to the property. And there's no fencing, no signs, no nothing. And people are taking advantage of that and doing dumping back here. Yeah, see? This is what I spotted last time. Might even be more here than last time. Radio flyer wagon. We did find some children's toys, so people are coming back here because no one's really checking on this place. There's no restrictions coming back here, so they're dumping anything and everything. Pallets, fence posts. I remember we found CDs here, political signs, part of a blower. That might be a dehumidifier or something. All right, let's head over to that building. It's getting a little bit warm. We'll take some cover inside of there. And I'll share what I do know about this place right here. And since my last visit, someone's been here and painted the outside saying Gus Customs with a motorcycle picture. I guess they're doing some custom work inside here. They dumped it at their shop. What does it say? Block is chop something? Oh well. Looks like they're not here today. I like the shirt. Dollywood Express. So this building here we came upon, and look at, I remember this last time. There's a hanging purse right there. I should actually take that over and add it to the tree. So this building here yields some clues. But the one thing is that the viewers who reached out to me and shared all the knowledge and pictures, they couldn't really clearly explain what this particular building was used for. A couple things I was able to figure out is that this was not open like this. This was an extension off the main building. When you look at the old aerial image, this was connected to the main building. So this garage or bay door, you'd be going from inside one building into another. So this wasn't exposed like this. As around the side and back, I think possibly the rear part near the manway. But again, we're looking at more interior of a building right here. A lot of conduit, some beams, concrete. So this was all inside of a building. I think the back half was the outside part. So everything that we're looking at, you normally wouldn't be able to see it like this when the main building was here. So workers and rails would have been inside this building, and then they would just come over here and walk inside this building. And the rails themselves do come right in this building. And we did see where they do have like a bump stop in the back there. And we have a 5-ton bridge crane, which I showed in close detail with my 360 camera. So if you haven't seen my initial video here, I encourage you to watch it. You will see a few things differently than you see in this video, but we're basically showing everything that we saw last time plus more. I also noticed too, here's the garage door controls. Overhead Something Corp out of Dallas, Texas, and there's a electrical box here. Some conduit hanging down, had overhead fluorescent lighting. There's a lot of brackets on the wall, conduit coming out. Another manway here, similar to the brick shit house where it goes in and out. So these walls are thick, but not as thick as the other one. And there's also a door sensor here, so if someone came in or out, it would trigger something when the door opened and closed. So I think here back was probably outside the building. Here is all inside of the main building. Oh, what is that? Oh, it's a high railer. High rail truck. Well, we didn't catch a train, but we caught that. Now, a couple theories that I have and also have been shared in the comment section of my initial video is that this could have been a paint booth, which I can't really rule that out. But my one conflict though is that this doesn't really seem long enough for a traditional locomotive. Now, locomotives are different sizes. I mean, if you have a switcher engine, yeah, that could fit in here. Some other, older units could possibly fit in here, but there's also a lot of larger units that would be sticking out. But paint booth does, seem plausible. I mean, they had lighting. They could have even had lighting on the sides, which you typically have in a paint booth, so you don't have shadows. This was heated. Looks like maybe ventilation there with those pipes. So paint booth is a good possibility. And maybe they used the gantry crane to remove pieces to paint them. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe they were painting sections of the locomotive, not the entire locomotive itself. So maybe they brought in sections of it or removed parts from the locomotive with the crane to paint. So that's one theory. Another theory was that this was a repair shop itself. Like, even though the whole place was a repair shop, that this particular building was specialized in something of repairs. Again, could be plausible, but I think less likely. One is because there's no pit here where you have in like roundhouses where the locomotive is parked over it, and there's almost like a mechanic's pit where you can have underneath access for inspections and repairs in between the wheel set. So anything that was done in here would have been done, top side. It's also not a very tall building. I don't know the height of locomotives. Again, sizes do vary. Wouldn't fit in here? I think absolutely. Just not any old locomotive though. I think it'd have to be a smaller one. Oh, look I just noticed that. It says overhead door trademark. It's like spray painted like a stencil. If it was neither a paint booth or a repair booth, well, I'm all out of options then. But if I was to guess one of those two, I'd say about 70-30 paint booth for either painting the entire locomotive or sections of it with the help of that 5-ton crane. If some of those employees are watching though, or other employees or other people who are just knowledgeable with what you're seeing inside this building, and you can confirm otherwise what this place was used for, would love to hear it. I love learning about how things used to operate back in the day. And it helps me with future explorations. If I do come across things, I'm like, hey, I learned that, which I often do in my videos. And here's, I explained before, the rails just kind of come up right there. So anything that was coming in here couldn't go too far back. Now, I mean, if there was a locomotive in here, it wouldn't be able to come all the way to there. It'd be into the wall because the wheel trucks are in further than where the coupler would have been. So I don't know, I have some conflicting thoughts, but without overanalyzing it, overthinking it, I'm gonna say probably 70-30 paint booth. Yeah, I'm just looking at this building. This is a pretty decent building. I mean, aside from those holes in the roof up there, back there it's like sheet metal. For the roof up here, it's concrete. It's a pretty solid building. It's solid concrete, nice smooth floor. I mean, you could bring your car in here and detail it or keep it out of the elements if you had to. Just sweep up the nails in the glass back there, you'd be good to go. But this property is a fascinating one for a good reason. Number one is because I found it by train, riding the RDC earlier this year. I spotted this structure and the brick shit house. And I knew I wanted to come investigate. And coming here with little to no knowledge, we were able to piece together a few things and kind of add some more pieces to that puzzle. And when I saw these rails throughout the whole property, I knew trains were involved, especially servicing this site. But little did I know that locomotives themselves were being rebuilt here. But MK Rail was only here for a relatively short time, but it was a big prominent company. I mean, they rebuilt locomotives. There was a lot of employees. The ex or former employees who did reach out to me said it was a great place to work. They were proud of their work. They stood behind, the repairs. And it was a massive facility for repairing locomotives, keeping them in service. But before that though, Foster Wheeler, building and testing boilers and other equipment. Well, it was here for a long time, but when they left, they didn't leave on a good note. A lot of the property is contaminated. We have a capped off area, dozens of boreholes and monitoring pipes. So some good, some not so good, but today it's a shell of its former self, but there's enough left behind that paints a picture. And now with the pictures that were shared with me that I was able to share with you, we now have a clear understanding as to how this facility used to look and how big it was, the length, the size, everything. And knowing that when I was here the first time, some of my initial thoughts were kind of on par with what was actually going on here. So I feel good that I was able to kind of use my investigative skills and all the things I've learned through my own research and through help of you guys, the viewers, over the past 16 years of making videos, that I've learned just as much from you guys, if not more, than you have from me. So I always am appreciative of anything that you are able to share in the comments and even via messenger to tell me, hey, just so you're aware, this is what it actually is. Or, you were close, but this is what was going on. Or you were completely wrong, this is what it was. I'm completely grateful and appreciative of anything I'm able to learn from you guys. And anything, like I said, I'm able to learn, I'm able to use at future locations. So if I do see something I'm able to recognize, I'm like, hey, I know what that is. So once again, thank you for anything you're able to offer in my videos. It greatly means a lot. But this site though, I think we've covered it inside and out, top to bottom, and I don't think we have reason to come back here anytime soon. But coming back though on Blue Lightning was the right decision. We covered a lot of ground today. We saw things that we didn't know existed. We covered nearly the entire property, border to border, and we found a few things that we didn't know were hiding out there, especially that bilge sump pump item I'm calling it. We found near that wetlands area. That one has me intrigued. So I'm curious to see what you guys leave down below regarding that. But this was definitely fascinating, especially for the fact though that I love trains. And I get asked a lot, Jay, why do you love trains? What's with you and trains? Or I notice when trains come by, you get super excited and happy. Well, I don't know why. It's just something that I'm passionate about. People have asked, have you ever worked for the railroad? Is that why you love trains? No, I never did. I actually did apply to work for Reading and Northern years ago when I was much younger. It was out of their Port Clinton location, but it wasn't feasible for me because at that time my daughter was a newborn and you had to report to work within an hour being called. It wasn't in the cards. So I'm happy with the way things have turned out. Now I'm documenting rail history, rail infrastructure, documenting trains in action, both steam and diesel. So things have kind of worked out in their own, I guess you could say, unique way, the way they're supposed to. So what I'm doing, documenting history, sharing any knowledge I can, and taking you on these adventures is something I'm not only really fortunate to do, but appreciative of doing, because I know so many of you can't get out and do it for yourselves or don't have these locations near you. So without me getting all sappy and rambling anymore, I want to thank you so very much for coming along. I am looking forward to anything you're able to share as far as questions I had, and hopefully seeing this place today in a more updated fashion and seeing what else we missed, including the pictures. We could say, this place has been documented. Check mark, we can move on to the next one. So a lot more things planned for this coming year, the rest of 2026, including using Blue Lightning at some future locations, one of which we may find some old mining equipment if I do go to the right location and hopefully find it. So that'll be coming out sometime in the next month or two as well. So take care, everyone. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.